Okay, well, hello again. Right, I think I just need to sort my noise gate out. Okay, how about that? Is that any better? Well, I'll just see how we get on. So I've done a little bit of tweaking with the audio levels, so it should be a lot easier to hear, and it still should be okay for VATSIM. But we'll see how we get on. Hello Rick, good to see you again. Sorry for the slight delay. It does take a little bit of time to get the sim prepped and going. Anyway, here we are, stand 4-2 at London Stanstead. There should be some coverage for Brittany this evening, which is why I've planned this trip. I think I've been to Nantes once before, and oh, somebody's landing. Once before, and it was good fun, so let's get off and get there again. I didn't put the logo on. Oh, we haven't got any power anyway. So the airplane is sat here just with the doors open and nothing else done. So without further ado, let's get in and get prepped. You can see completely cold and dark. So pop the logo on, but the battery can come on. Emergency exits can come on. We'll pop the ground power on. Get the dome light on and get the IRSs aligning as they illuminate aligning. Okay, well, we'll talk about that in just a moment. Just run through the panel scan, nothing should have changed. Pop the pumps on, test the window heats. We can pop the packs on and have a look at our flight now. You see we've got a step climb this evening. So we'll set 240 initially, and I think it's all low airways all the way there, which is a bit inefficient. So if we get cleared higher, which we might do, we will. And the elevation is 90, so we'll pop 100 in. So, whatever I can go to RTO, check the system. We have hydraulic pressure. I think I'm going to turn that warning off. MCP is fine and set. All to what we would expect. Check the throttle. Take off config, warning works. 2000 set the radios up. And that is very much that. Let's get the payload and the fuel sorted before we have a chat about flap selection. So, we have got just chill that for a minute. 162 packs. And we are going to have, let's put 812 up the front and 2, does 2.0 work? Nope. 2000 at the back, giving us 15772, so I've got the upper and lower bounds there. And that is going to give us 15.8 plus 43.1 is a zero fuel weight of 58.9, which is a bit lighter than we've got there. We've got 60.2, take away 58.9, gives us 1.3 tons lighter. So let's get, well, we have a lot of fuel on board, that was from earlier, so let's go 6643. It'll be offloading fuel, which is possible, as soon as the airplane can't dump it. Let's get the fuel truck to empty us out. And and that's the initial setup, so we'll be getting rid of all that fuel because I was flying circuits earlier at East Midlands. So your question there, Rick, is the difference. How do you select between flap 30 and flap 40? Flap 30 should essentially be your default flap setting. Flap 40 is only really ever used for performance situations. So when you go into the calculator, set this to 30, and that will give you your landing distances. So obviously flying slower will reduce your landing distances. It flies a little bit differently, but for most places you will be fine with flap 30, and you should only ever need flap 40 if it's quite a short runway. So places like Bournemouth, I'm just trying to think, Luton is, you'd say, is a flap 40 destination. So use the calculator as we did, I think, on the last stream, not the last one, the one before, the last live stream. Use the calculator to work out your stopping distances, compare it with the chart, and then use what you think is appropriate. So if I won't do that just yet, but if you remember, if we have a look at Stanstead and the aerodrome chart, which I'm just bringing up in the browser, which I can then display there, you'll see that on that chart over here, you'll see the exits, and some places that are quite useful will give you the distances. Otherwise you have to measure them or work them out, and then you can tailor your landing distance to that. Obviously if your landing distance equals it, then the airplane will come to a stop depending on the auto brake setting, and what you want is, to leave at about 40 odd knots. So you can use, let's say for instance auto brake 3 will stop you here. You can use that and then just go manual braking somewhere along here, but you'd probably be better if auto brake 2 would stop you here to use that and then brake as necessary. But like I say, go for flap 30, see what it gives you, compare it to the chart with the distance available, and you should be alright. So I hope that little rough stab tries to answer it. And when do you need to put the flaps to 30? Well, that needs to be done. The aeroplane needs to be stable by 500 feet for Ryanair, 500 feet VMC if it's visual, 1,000 feet by 1,000 feet in IMC if you're in cloud or low visibility. So that's where you have to be stable on glide slope, on localizer, and the speed needs to be within about 5 knots and not excessive. So that's what you would do for that. So as long as you gradually go down, as we said, 4 or 5 miles, gear down flap 15, and then as you get closer you can go to flap 25, match the speed, and then final landing flap with your vRYR, which is your your V approach, which is your vRYR plus whatever wind correction you've got. So that just takes a little bit of practice, and if you're unstable at any point, it should be a go around, but you can practice that as you see fit. So I'm just going to have a look and see who is online. So Stanstead ATIS. So Stanstead is online. The ATIS is 127. 125. Why don't we listen to that now? We can't because it don't work. Stanstead Tower is on 123.8.
EZ24 Zulu Quebec,
Good.
welcome to Stanstead. Taxi stand, tree 2 via Link Lima and Juliet.
Taxi stand 32 via Link Lima and Juliet, EZ24 Zulu Quebec.
So there's a chap called Reese Warner Smith. I'm just going to leave that off for the moment. 27125, 127, 175, sorry, I was being a bit dense there. We're doing 175, starting to go wrong already. There.
Aircraft type on first contact. Ground information echo. Time 1920. Automatic. Runway in use 22. Transition level, flight level 70. Surface wind 130. 9 knots. Visibility 10. Kilometers or more, no cloud detected. Temperature +7. Dew point +1. QNH 1025. Acknowledge your receipt of information echo.
Good, so we've got the weather, we are fueling / defueling. We're off blocks at 8 o'clock, but we can crack on with the FMC setup. So nav data is correct. We are at Echo Golf Sierra Sierra. We are on stand 42. Required information in those boxes, GPS left into those, and then onto the route the IRSs have aligned. So we are going to Lima Foxtrot Romeo Sierra. We are Ryanair 4 Delta Tango, and route wise, let's have a look. That's a little bit more than I want to type out, so we will use the cheat LFRS01. Only works if you export it. So we're off to Nugbo, Mike 183 Silver, Quebec 41 to Southampton VOR, Mike 1905 to Maroc, Lima 621 to Lelna, Upper November 621 to Domok, Domok Upper Tango 260, Upper Low, Upper November 862 to Godan or Godan, and then the arrival. So I'm going to activate that. And we can see if we got our zero fuel. So I calculated 58.9, and that's what we have got. Planned fuel, 15-minute taxi we're probably not going to need. I've added an extra 15-minute reserve and we're still light, so it's good for us. Trip and taxi, 3 tons of it's good enough. And the fuel is still reducing to 6643, but we're getting there. Reserves 2865, round up 2.9, round up again to 3. Cost index of 6. And as we said, our initial climb is going to be 240. I think the weather is a bit better up at 290, but I'm not sure it's going to make much difference. It's going to be ISO deviation plus 3, and I did do the top climb wind, which is 301 at 3. Hardly worth doing. And we can do the performance in a moment, so let's get it onto the takeoff page. 1025. Now that's interesting, I had this issue earlier. Let me just check the weather, so apologies while I just blank the screen for a moment. Right, I'm not sure if that's worked. I don't know if it was a case of Active Sky playing up. It says it's fine. So let me just check and see. Active Sky live real-time mode, so that's fine. It's outputting to the right place. Sorry, I won't bother blanking the screen that time. So what is going on here? 130 at 9, that's fine. Everything looks fine, but that is... No, that isn't a weather issue, is it? The elevation here is 348 feet, so that is bang on. That is the issue in the nav data, so I think there is something squiffy with it. Anyway, for the time being, just going to continue. So we need our departure page. We know it's runway 22. There's 2 Nugbos that we could get. Ah, okay, that makes sense. Maybe I was overthinking it. Okay, it's fine. I think I'm just being a little bit slow tonight, so we will give tower a call and get our clearance. And while we're doing it, start the flight leg. Looks like we've finished fueling. So belts can come on, we'll pop all the fuel pumps on, get the fuel mixing. And we've got oh that's dangerous, isn't it? 6660. So 6660. And just scribbling it onto the flight plan as well. So, ample time. Just get the chat in the background, there we go, so I can see everything. How are the audio levels, guys, as well? Can you hear me okay? I think I'm still speaking at the same level, but hopefully it's a bit louder. Do give us a shout if things need turning up, because I can definitely do that. Stanstead Tower, good evening, Ryanair 4 Delta Tango. I do not have the right frequency, so let's change that. Stanstead Tower, good evening, Ryanair 4 Delta Tango.
Ryanair 4 Delta Tango, Stanstead Tower, good evening.
Ryanair 4 Delta Tango 738, information echo, stand 42 QNH 1025, request departure clearance to Nantes.
Ryanair 4 Delta Tango, you are cleared to Nantes via the Zibo 1 Romeo departure, squawk 2217.
Cleared to Nantes, Nugbo 1 Romeo, squawk 2217, Ryanair 4 Delta Tango.
Ryanair 4 Delta Tango, correct.
So 2, 2.
24 is Zulu Quebec is shutting down. Thank you for ATC service. Bye bye.
Thanks, see you again soon, bye.
So the airfield elevation is, we did say 348, I've got Nugbo 1 Romeo. 1348 for flat retraction.
36 Charlie, go ahead.
Yeah, we've got a slight problem with our nav data. It seems to be out of date. Can we take Paxton 18 for departure?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. You can take that.
Stop climb is 4,000. And our departure, we need the DME. So let me just get the charts up so you can see this. So I'll just load up the departure. There's not much to do for. So there we are. We need 110.5 set.
FedEx 36 Charlie, actually that was my fault completely. If you could take Callsign 1 Echo, 4 Sierras for runway 04.
Actually, yeah, we just noticed that.
Oh, that's interesting.
Thank you.
So that's based off ISX, and we're going to pick up the wrong one. Never mind, we will just have to deal with that. So I think what we're going to need is our inbound course is going to be 350, so I'm going to put that on nav1. Now because we're not going to have the DME, or the DME may be wrong, we're going to want 157 on that one, which we're then also going to change to 258 outbound, and it's going to be Barclay or both. So 116, 25. That's all we need. Those are the only restrictions. Top of 4,000 and above 3. Pop both of those on. And once we pop it in here, Nugbo 1 Romeo. see those points are looking pretty correct. And there they are. So, track mileage, ground distance, 367, 352. That's good enough for the moment. I'm not going to bring up the ground charts because we haven't really got far to go. It's not particularly difficult. You would look at the airport charts for the takeoff data. So 223 is the runway heading. And we'd need it for the takeoff minimums as well. So we can get our packs sat down. We'll start the APU in just a moment. Just going to do the takeoff performance calculations. So we've got the most up-to-date weather. Anti-ice is off, flap optimum, engine bleeds on, thrust optimum. We are going to be 1.3 kilos lighter than that, so I think 65. Let's go 66 bang on just to give us a little bit of margin. I'll do the calculation there. It's runway 22. I'm going to go full because we are going to need 1791 because, oh, there is absolutely no D-rate. That's quite odd. Now I have a feeling we can at least take 22k, so if I
FedEx 36 Charlie, stand 214, push and start approach.
Push and start approach, FedEx 36 Charlie.
So 22k gives us 1916, which I am happy to take because it hasn't got any reduced info for some reason. So I'm not sure if I need to update the nav data, but 22k is what we're going to take. So flap 5, 22, nil temperature limit, bleeds on. So that is nice and easy. Full D rate, flap 5. We are loaded. Trim is 575, 140, 140, 146. It's close enough, isn't it? 146. The flight directors can go on. And we need 5.75 units. That'll do. So, let's get the APU started. Three seconds will do it. Let's get those off, ready to get hitched up to the pushback truck. Let's get all the doors shut. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's get all the ground handling. No, we don't want drive up all. Oh god. It's gone wrong. Drive away. So let's... We're going to assume that.
Ground to cockpit. Plan acknowledged. Call me through the menu when you're ready. Ground to cockpit. Tow is driving up.
So we are ready to go. Stanstead Tower, no London. Got a limo approaching from the front. So because we are online, we want to get a tow driving magically through brick walls and through a limo. With that, brilliant. We'll get hitched up and then we'll call ready for push, and we'll be slightly early, if not bang on. So they can disconnect the ground power.
36 Charlie, unfortunately I will be closing now, however, no fear, Essex radar is on, so contact them.
Okay, all doors and hatches are closed, ready to connect.
12065.
Okay, we'll go up to Essex radar on 12065, many thanks for your GC, and have a good evening.
All stations, Stanstead Tower now closing, contact Essex radar 120.625. Bye, Rob. Good evening.
Thanks very much, Reese. Good night.
Good night.
Okay, 120 and then 1228. So we've got radar. We're not ready to go just yet. You see how long it does take. And of course, when it's busy, you don't want to hold anyone up. So we've got S6 radar. London's not online. So that's probably all we'll be speaking to.
Connected and bypass pin inserted. Release parking brake.
So let's see what they say. 6 radar, good evening Ryanair for Delta Tango. Stand 42, information echo QNH 1025, request push and start.
Ryanair 4 Delta Tango, S6 radar, good evening, push and start is approved, QNH is 1025.
Push and start approved, QNH 1025, Ryanair 4 Delta Tango. Good, so we have been cleared.
S6 radar, very good evening, FedEx 36 Charlie with you, request taxi.
Set those.
Charlie, S6 radar, good evening.
Anti-collision goes on.
Point Sierra 1 via Juliet. Charlie.
So stand 42, we are Charlie and we're basically straight out to the runway from here. So cabin is secure. We're ready to push at 1958.
Starting pushback and you may start engines.
1958 Zulu with 33203330 kilos on board. Good, yeah, so don't forget that that weight will change, Rick, so as long as you fly, if flap 30 said 137 and there was no wind, you'd fly at 142. If there was a bit of wind, you can adjust it some more. But as long as you don't forget to add that wind additive, and like you say, once you've nailed the speed, it really does make a big difference. Half mv squared for dissipating the energy. So yeah, simple things, little tricks that you might miss just by watching without an explanation that come to make everything a little bit better. Anyway, we'll start engine at number 2, so the packs are off. Starter to ground. Might be a little bit late actually, but it doesn't really matter. We're certainly not going to take 15 minutes to taxi, so we'll be ahead of schedule there. And our estimated time at Nantes is 21:23, so should be there by 9-ish at this rate. But anyway, really, I'm glad I can help. And like I say, hopefully I'll read up on Discord and
Operation
figure it
complete.
out.
Set parking brake.
And that might be a better
Toes, stand by.
method of having a chat about things. Oh, and I forgot to put the fuel on, so because I'm just too busy chatting. Hence, sterile cockpit. What's this guy doing over here? Ah, he's on stand, I suppose. Looks like slightly different scenery. Cool, yeah, I might think about Discord. Although, obviously, because I've got VATSIM as well, I'm going to have lots of things in my ear, so I think that's why I want to have a read up about it, see if I can turn it on, mute it, that sort of thing. Anyway, start engine number 1. I can see Discord would be really good for something to like simulate an intercom if you were shared cockpitting. Which I suppose is no different to what you do in a real aeroplane. When you've got someone sat next to you, you just have to tell them to shut up when there's a radio call. Anyway, 25% fuel on. And I'm going to assume that you can hear me alright because you are replying. So hopefully you can hear me a little bit better rather than it being quite quiet. I might have to tweak the noise gate as well just to cut down the background noise. I should look for the pin. There's the pin. So starter cut out. Good. I don't know what I've managed to do, but I had the the audio quite low, so I think it must have been for X-Squawk Box, which didn't have great settings. X-Pilot's a little bit better. Anyway, so before taxi flow, all the way up, all the way down, check. Reverse C, back to the front. We've seen the pin, so we can set flap 5. Wait to make sure the flap deploys. There it is, flying controls, full forward, full aft, full left, full right, full left rudder, full right rudder.
FedEx 36 Charlie Bar Sierra 1 runway 22, clear take off surface wind at Stanstead.
Trip set,
0 degrees 9 knots.
checked.
Clear take off runway 22 Bar Sierra 1.
So before taxi checklist, generators are on, APU is off, start switch is continuous, propeat's on, anti-ice not required, there is no cloud. Air conditioning, initial cruise 240 set, PAX auto, bleeds on, isolation valve auto, flaps 5, green light, stab trim, 575 required, 5.75 set. Flight controls were checked and the recall has been checked. We are ready to taxi, so it's going to be a very short taxi. Ryanair 4 Delta Tango, request taxi.
Ryanair 4 Delta Tango, taxi 1 with Sierra 1 via Hotel and Sierra.
Holding point 01 via Hotel and Sierra, Ryanair 4 Delta Tango. So it's sort of via Charlie as well, but never mind, we have been cleared to taxi. We are clear to the left, clear to the right, back ahead. Brakes on, so the parking brake comes off. Brakes off, config check. Off we go. So I am going to very quickly get set up LNAV, terrain on the other side. Keep it to 10 knots or below on the apron. Squawk is set, and most importantly 146, 146. So you can see that that's the centre of the taxiway, and we're just on a little bit, which makes a bit more room for other aeroplanes coming in. Don't think they call them East, Middle and West. So you'd probably get a bit more detailed instruction in real life. There's actually been a load of deactivated airspace in the UK, so CTAs around Birmingham deactivated. Be a lovely time to be going flying, but that's certainly not going to happen at the moment. Of course, you'd be looking and checking that there are no other aeroplanes at every turn, but there's 2 of you and you can move your head a little bit easier than I can. So we'll get the cabin secure. Sierra 1 is over here, so we'll be at least 10 minutes, well, about 10 minutes early.
Okay, the cabin is secured. Have a good flight.
So we are essentially ready to go. So that's the Cat 2-3 holding point, so low visibilities, which we're not in. This is Sierra 1, the actual holding point.
FedEx 36 Charlie, what's your passing altitude? We're maintaining 4,000 now, FedEx 36 Charlie. FedEx 36 Charlie, thanks, climb now, flight level 110. Flight level 110 for FedEx 36 Charlie.
Ryanair 4 Delta Tango holding Sierra 1, ready immediate.
Ryanair 4 Delta Tango, thanks, flight Sierra 1, runway 22, clear takeoff, surface wind 130 degrees 9 knots.
Flight Sierra 1, clear takeoff, runway 22, Ryanair 4 Delta Tango. So, lights. Let's get the transponder on. Back ahead, brakes off, configs checked again. release speed's checked. Initial climb stop is checked at 4,000. Looking at the chart. And we are off and ready. A good 6 minutes.
Approaching.
Minutes. No, 8 minutes. So it'll probably be about 7 by the time we get actually going. So we don't need all the runway because we've got quite a high power setting. So 3270.
36 Charlie, nothing further to infrared mode, unit come altitude left.
On runway
80,
2.
40%, do a rolling takeoff.
FedEx 3 Charlie.
Engine stable. Power, toga, time. Let's keep the airplane straight. I needed a lot more rudder than I thought. Of course, it's a lot easier to feel it in the real aeroplane.
80 knots.
Control column to neutral.
V1 tape.
So gently up, about 3 seconds.
Positive rate.
10 degrees, positive rate. Gear up.
$400.
Onto the flight directors. LNAV. Seems to need a little bit more trim.
104 Delta Tango, no your passing altitude.
Passing altitude 1,300 feet, right at 4 Delta Tango.
104 Delta Tango, roger, maintain altitude 4,000 feet on reaching.
4,000 on reaching, right at 4 Delta Tango. So we can, that should have bugged up. So we'll bug up ourselves. That seems a little bit lower than I'd like. Accelerating. Flap 1. So still flying manually at this point. Need a little bit of trim. Passing flap 1, flap up. And as we cross that radial, we're going to want to turn to the right. So we'll maintain the flap up speed at this point.
$1,000 to go.
So that's going to leave us in a little bit of a mess. It's a pretty tight turn actually. Even at flap up, it's quite tight. And once we've settled down, I'll do the aft takeoffs. So you can see, managed to overshoot that turn, despite only really doing what I would say was minimum speed. So we'll go 250. And you can see the auto throttle is doing that whilst I'm just maintaining the flight directors, passing up and out.
So trying to get up to Golf Romeo Hotel down to Sierra Cessna 172 at the Harrow Tango at Victor. Looking for Stanstead, please, for VFR departure to east.
So we're massively out of trim at that point. Climb flight level 70 Ryanair 4 Delta Tango. So climb now should overwrite any previous instructions. We'll pop the open VNAV. 1, 2, 3. So what I did there was out into vent 3 times, but I've got a key to do it myself. 258. And the airplane's not climbing yet. So this is one situation where you might want to fly vertical speed because, as you can see, I should have said that.
1,000 to go.
As you can see, it's a little bit keen.
1,000 to go.
Golf Sierra crest start.
Golf Delta Sierra start approved.
Because we're being given these step climbs. This is looking pretty tight and uncomfortable. Hold acquire. It's not the nicest of departures, this one. So we're not in VNAV anymore because I did go to level change. As soon as we're not, probably not going to go.
Right, and then 6 uniform.
It's not us.
Flankers from Stanstead to Dublin, gate 13.
It's an awful microphone. So we can pop that one off.
6 uniform, hello, contact Stanstead ground 121 decimal, set 25.
Yeah, we'll just match heading. Ooh.
Standard ground 121 decimal 75, goodbye.
So Essex looks like nothing else.
We have a taxi.
Golf Delta Sierra taxi holding point. Correction, are you able to intercept Charlie for departure?
Nathan?
Golf Delta Sierra taxi holding point Charlie 1 via Delta and Alpha.
Charlie 1 Delta now, Golf Delta Sierra.
So we are off direct. Nugbo and Nugbo at 1-3.
194 Delta Tango, nothing further for you, monitor Unicom 122 decimal 8, bye.
Unicom 122 decimal 8, thanks for service. Have a great night, run F4 Delta Tango. Okay, bye. So let's get straight up to 240. And we will go VNAV, given a self climb. There's the aeroplane changing into N1 VNAV speed. Set once, set twice, 3 times. Off we go. See, relatively light, we do shoot up. So I didn't get the fuel. We took off at 08. So 7 minutes early. And we took off with 327, 328. So that gives us 5, carry 1, 5. 6550 on board. So we burnt 110 during the taxi. And we are about 100 kilos over what was predicted at that point. So there's flight level 100. Airplane's bugging up. Checked 4 pumps. Lights off. And the airplane is not pressurizing it. I mean, I know it's quite low, but it might start to shoot up. It's nice and smooth, we can let the packs go. And here we are. So the ortho is off tonight. And I really need to do those extended lights. But they do give a bit of frame laggage. So I'm not sure if the traffic goes the right way. Do we see any cars? No, yes we can. They're on the correct side of the road. Well, they might be, you know. It's unusual. Normally I thought ex-Europe gave them on the wrong side, but maybe that was just me. Anyway, I think we definitely need those extended lights because they just end abruptly, which looks a little bit silly. And I mean, in fairness, a lot of these quiet roads down here wouldn't be that lit up anyway. So if I am right, we should be going past Luton and then out to our left. Should be Halton, where I fly from. And I'm just seeing if I can see. I think that's Luton, so that must be the M1 there. So we should see the A41 heading off, and if I tune Bovington, which is on the hill, and display that. I could have done that. There we go, you can see it's going past Bovingdon. And if I have a look on here, we can actually, Henton would probably be easier, wouldn't it? Let's go 434. Let's try 433. Oh no, let's try actually switching it over. Nothing. That's done it. So Henton is just... yeah, Henton is not far from Alton. So coming round in that direction. Now what is that going to be out to our left? Some pretty awful static there. Now is that going to be Chargrove and Benson? May very well be. So Horton should just be out to our left somewhere. Can't see from those overlays though. That might be it there with the little flashing beacon. But those overlays aren't particularly accurate to the roads that are around there. Oh, that might be Wickham actually. Who knows? Anyway, there's 200. There's the airplane pressurising and climbing pretty steeply. Now we're going to be going off in that direction. So that's looking like the M40. So it would make sense that that is Chargrove and that's Benson. So one of those, something out there should be Wickham. Anyway, extended night lights is probably what I need to reinstall. So it's all pretty quiet. We're going to head down towards Southampton. And then swing a bit of a right, pass pretty much straight over the top of Jersey. And then inbound to Nantes. So you can see that there, a little bit of a right, do a dogleg to the left, and then head in. That's where we're going. So once we get established in the cruise, I'll do the descent forecasts so I don't forget them. Then we'll think about, we'll have a look at the charts and think about the sort of approach that we're going to do. The wind is favouring 03, which suits us because that's Nantes only has one instrument runway. Well, it only has an ILS on one runway, so if you were to do, well, we'll have a look at the charts and I'll show you. And maybe I shouldn't have given away exactly what was going on. I could have asked the question. So we'll get the weather, have a look, because I mean we have got the weather on the forecast. So if I just get rid of these and we go to LFRS Edinburgh, yeah, I tell you what. So it has been Gatwick for the last couple of weeks. So maybe we will go to Edinburgh. Edinburgh is relatively. It's not that small, but it's smaller than Gatwick. Oh, that was what that ding was. Don't use Unicom as a chat room. Please go to private message. Oh, somebody was moaning that peeps were chatting. Chat. Which, I mean, in fairness, now that all of the frequencies are available, you could quite happily, what should I say, you could just quite happily chat on any other frequency, and that would be equally alright. Interrupt anyone if you were just using a dedicated air-to-air. Anyway, we've gone past Cowley, and we're en route to Norrie at 23. I haven't done any of the forecast times yet. 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, I believe is acceptable. I mean, anything that nobody's on, just using your own, it's fine. So let me just do these time forecasts. So as I've got rid of it, never mind. On the OFP, you've got two boxes with 3 dotted lines. One is ETO, one is ATO. That's estimated time overhead, actual time overhead. So estimated departure was Stanstead at 2015. Now actual time of ahead or departure was 08, so we were 7 minutes early, and then you just literally go from your actual departure time to a new forecasted time rather than having to do the maths. 09, 10, 10, 11, 18, 18, 21, 24, so we were -7, we're -1. We'll update that. Taban 24 goes to 25. So 2025, turn the page. 26, 29, 34, 37, 39. So the estimated time into the French FIR is 2039. And because we are expecting some VATSIM, that should cover it. 41, 49, 52, 59, 2104, 07, and 2119 is what I've got, which should be 1 hour 8 minutes later than departure. We departed at 08, and I've got a 9. Dear, that doesn't add up, does it? My maths has gone wrong, and this should not be a difficult task. 08, 8, 9, 10, 10, 11, 18, 18, 21. No, that's where I've gone wrong. That should not be a 21, that should be a 22. It should therefore be a 23. 23 makes that 24, makes that 27, makes that 32, 35, 37, so actually it's 2037, 39, 47, 5057, 2102, 2105, 21, 17, I still think I've got something wrong there. Anyway, so far that's good enough for government work. Anyway, we're approaching Southampton, which is what, 20 minutes after leaving Stanstead. We're at Southampton, which is probably like a 2-3 hour car journey at the moment. And we look like we're going to be there at 2:08, so we were -7. No. We should be there at 2:07 and we're at 2:08. So -7 plus 1 gives us -6. So whatever our estimated time from the OFP is, which we had 21:23, we can take 6 minutes off that at the moment, is our estimated time at Southampton. So from our OFP, you will recall at Southampton there was a step climb. I'm going to set that to 2.5. I'm going to set this to 2.5. And then in VNav, to get the aeroplane to step climb, all we're going to do is push out into vent. As I've said before, I can't get it from here, so I've mapped it to a key on my joystick, and so once we get to Southampton, I will push it, and the aeroplane will climb. But what it will do is it will just throttle up to cruise, max cruise setting, and it will maintain cruise speed, rather than it going to a climb setting. So LFBB is who we will contact, and they are 125.1. They are online. So there we are, overhead Southampton, out into vent, into N1. So 125.10. So, having a look at the airport, you've got all the general briefings, noise abatement, ATIS, LFRS 128925, so of course it doesn't match what's in the real world. 128925. So we've got the ATIS set. You want to read through all of these, of course I'm not going to drag them all up on screen, but if you've got Navigraph you can easily step through them. Some of the important ones that you will want are the airport itself. The arrival briefings sometimes have some useful stuff. Preferred runway 03 until 5 knot tailwind, so that's a really good bit to know. They want 03 because it goes out over the water, so a bit less noise sensitive. And as you can see there, they don't want you overflying knots because it's clearly noise sensitive. So that's a really key bit of information there. It's not highlighted or anything, but 03 until 5 knot tailwind. We're not going to have that tonight anyway by the looks of things. So you've got to put all that information together and also get the weather. Can we hear it? So this is LMRS information Zibo. Recorded at 2000 UTC. Expected approach ILS. Landing runway 03. Takeoff runway 03. Expect departure 3M323Q3R. Transition level 50. Wind 060 degrees 7 knots. Cap K. Temperature 11. Dew point -1. QNH 1020. QFE 1016. Inform initial contact that you have received information. Good, so that was sketchy, and of course you can do it via the ACARS on here. So descent wise we've got some good information there. We know that the transition level is 050. We know that the QNH is 1020. And I'm going to set that here so we don't forget it. Set there as well. So we are at 250, so the only winds we're going to put in are 200, 150, 100, and I'm going to get them straight off the OFP because I don't want to have to go through the rigmarole of trying to do it on screen, but I'm sure you guys know where to find it in the OFP by now. So the descent section, 200 is 052 37 057 26 100 is 059. Let's try that again. 59 at 16. Set that. Now the arrival. We have filed, and I am expecting to get a go down 1 alpha, so let's have a look at that before we do anything else. As you can see, there are not many, so there's not a lot to pick from, and they're sort of all combined onto one. So go down is going to take us to ITEM, that's it. So 1 alpha can go in there. That should update our top of descent point, move it a little bit further out. I'm just checking to see where the FIR boundary is, because we are going to expect Ibnid Marek Lelna is the point here that the French FIR starts, so we're going to expect to be told to contact them at that point. And you see NITEM stops there. Now that's the end of the star, so we have to have a look at the approaches, and you can see there's lots more. So initial approach 03, initial approach RNAV we can have a look at, and we can have a look at the ILS Zulu for 03. Now we might get given the ILS Yankee, so I've got that one loaded up as well. You'll see the difference is only the missed approach procedure, and what you might find is that's possibly due to climb angles. But one thing that you'll notice is I think it goes less over the town, so Yankee might be the actual preferred one, although it's a bit much to be going back there. So for this one, climb gradient is 5% if unable. Same on that one. It's just a different holding point, so I would imagine if it was quite busy that you probably wouldn't get sent back to there, because you'd get in the way. You'd be sent over to there, sent as there. That would make sense to me. So I'm going to expect that we're going to get the ILS Zulu, but you can see that there's initial approaches here. Some are RNAV and some are not. So you see we're going to need 369 tuned ADF. So let's set that up, and we're going to not forget that if we are given the Yankee, we need to also set up 398. Actually, I'll just do it now. Easier said than done. There we go. So that's set for that. It looks like we need the Nantes VOR regardless. So if we have a look back here, Nantes is for the MSAs. If we fly this one, we are going to need Nantes outbound. So we can put 1155 on both and use it as we see fit. And we know that the ILS is going to be this one here, 109.9. So let's set 109.9 on both. And that's us. Fat, dumb and happy. So I would like to think that we would get given the RNAV, but I'm actually going to expect that we get vectors. But I don't think it matters a huge amount. So if we do this, our track miles will be a bit longer. That's flight level 70. That's also at flight level 70, so it's not going to make any difference which one of these we select. If we have to change them, we have to change them. It's not going to affect our descent profile because that's a fixed initial approach, fixed height. So I am going to hope that they give us the RNAV. So ILS Zulu, and then you'll see all these transitions here. So I think we're going to get ITEM. That's interesting. So what's that giving us? So I think that is giving us this one, because 13, Mike is the 13th letter of the alphabet. Intercept 212 Oscar, and then there's the final approach. So that's the one that we've programmed in. That shouldn't have changed our descent point. And I would expect to be told to contact somebody by now. Let me just check it is the right one. Oh no, it is not. So there is no centre, but there is Nantes online. There's only a tower and no approach. That's a shame. So we will just fly the full approach unless we are told otherwise. So LFBB is further south, and I thought it was going to be Brittany that was all lit up and online, but I guess they lied. So this is the approach we are going to fly, and you can see there's some restrictions on it. And one thing I did say was that there's only one instrument runway here. So if we have a look at what you'll notice is for runway 21 there is no ILS chart. There's initial approaches, there's no ILS, there's a VOR, there's an RNAV, and that's a visual procedure. So have a look at that. Have a look at the VOR, have a look at the visual. So you can take the RNAV into runway 21, but what you will notice from this chart is actually it doesn't line you up with the runway. So you can see the caution here, final approach track offset 13 degrees from the runway centre line. And there's a note here that that's your missed approach point. There's your initial fix, in you come, 1.7 to go. There's the missed approach point. If you're not visual with the runway, you continue on 221 on the missed approach to those. So you can only align if at the missed approach point that you are visual with the runway. So your minima can't be lower than that. And you can see here, LNAV minima, you've got category ABC, 530 feet, much higher than twice, slightly over twice the height, 1.2 times the height of an ILS. An ILS system minima is 200 feet, and LNAV only gets you down to 440, so you can see why the ILS is obviously preferred, but this still gives some flexibility, whereas before you'd only have the VOR, and if you have a look at the minima for the VOR, again they're not too bad, they're actually pretty similar. But in some places the VOR can be higher than that. I don't know why you would circle to land off this runway, but they've got the minima for that. And you can see here, this is actually a really good example of visual procedure, visual manoeuvring with prescribed tracks, VPT, which is effectively circling. So you would fly an instrument approach to that point, you would fly down to 920 feet, and then you would do this, and you could actually build this in the FMC, which I think would be quite fun. I don't know if you'd get that turn perfectly correct, but certainly what you could do, you see there is point A and then 075, you could go to there, point C, 3.1, 028 for 2.4 miles, and then try and figure out where point D is, but that would at least get you to there, give you some guidance. It's pretty much a circling approach, which is what you do anyway. And you can see that the heights are so much greater for that, and the visibility is greater as well. You need 2,400 meters. That would be less than ideal. See here again, this, I thought it was the VOR. The VOR might have slightly less, but the visibility there, 3,000 meters. So actually, if you were coming in, yes, the cloud base is lower, but if you were coming into Nantes and you only had 2,500 meters, you couldn't use this approach. So you would have to do something else, and that's where it's the VOR. VOR is the same, so that's where you'd have to do the circle at 2.5. So if it was a foggy day, if you had quite high clouds but couldn't get in, you had to land on that run because the wind was coming this way, that would be what you would have to do, whereas you compare it to the ILS of 200 feet and 550 meters, big difference. Anyway, that is ILS Yankee, which I hope we're not going to get given. I'm going to plan for Zulu, We've talked about that anyway. 028 is going to be our course. If we have a look, I think we'll set 028 on here. And we'll set 232 outbound. And you can see NTS is tuned. And for the time being, we will then set the ADF because we know we've got it available. And you see there's a DME arc there, which is a bit of a pain. So if we just step through all these restrictions and make sure they make sense. NITM 70 above. Now interestingly, well, that says flight level 70, so we'll take it as above. It's not an actual restriction, I suppose. Yes, all of these are flight level 70, and that's at or below 322 Mike, 13 miles, max 210, 210 below, 4.5 below, and having all of this in is what will allow VNAV to descend us all by itself. 3,000 there, and we're actually 3,000 level for quite a long way. We'll set the fixes. We know the weather is good, so it's going to be 4 miles. We'll set a 10-mile fix ring, and in case we get vectored, we will set a 30-mile fix ring, which is where we should be at flight level 100. And that is us pretty much prepped for the approach, apart from doing our landing calculations. So you can see here, this is our current gross weight, 4.4, take away 0.8 means that we're going to be 62.5, and that's going to be our landing, estimated landing weight. Of course we can change that if we need to as we get a bit closer. So Rick's question earlier was, how do I know which of these to pick? Incidentally, what you didn't ask was why is flap 15 there, and flap 15 is the engine out approach flap setting. There are also 2 gates on here, so, didn't want to do that. That was my bad. What you will notice is there are 2 gates. You see these gates here. In the real aeroplane, you have to lift the flap handle. You have to lift it up to be able to move it along. And if I show you from here, there are 2 points at which you can't do that. It has to go down to come back out again. They are flap 1 and flap 15. If you go around in the real aeroplane, what you want to do is lift the handle up and push it all the way forward until it drops, and that will take you very quickly to 15 without having to count. And if you're on a flap 15 approach, which is single engine, a single engine go around is done at flap 1, so that would be your go around flap setting. That's why those 2 gates are there. Every day you learn something new. So NFRS is, there's no approach, just the tower. So we will be on Unicom all the way down. I'm going to tune the tower 1865 so that we are ready. There's our top of descent, and the first height that we need to worry about is 150 or below. So I'm going to set 150. We would probably be cleared something a bit lower than that, but what I want is 1,000 feet before 150. I want to know about it. So what we might find is the aeroplane will take us and fly us level. It may not. We could have a look and try and figure it out, but at least we get 1,000 foot warning. And that's straight in, pretty easy, and it is from a Nantes VOR. So we talked about landing weights. 62.5 I've put in. How do I know which of these to select? Well, it's not 15 because we're not going to plan on being single engine. So it's flap 30 or flap 40. So let's put in to our landing calculator. It knows where we're going. We're going runway 03, it's dry. Now we got the wind already, didn't we? 060 at 7 knots. Enter. We know the temperature is 11. QNH is 1020. So flap 30 we will use as the default setting and see what we get. There is auto AC, anti-ice off, all brake settings, I forget what an NTE is, speed brake auto, and no credit for the reversers because they are not making any difference. We said 62.5, and so if we now go to this page, you will see that flap 1 at flap 30 brings us very, very close to the end of the runway. So there's 2782, and we can confirm that. Let's get rid of the R now, make some room. We can confirm that from the aerodrome chart. So there's the aerodrome, there's the parking stands, and you can see 290. Why is it less? Well, that's because it's landing distance available from the touchdown point, which is somewhere like here. So it takes into account that loss. It takes into account that you will be going over the threshold at 50 feet and touching down later on. So 2782, and I think also it takes away, that's the end of the runway, and that's displaced threshold. So it takes that distance. What you can do is confirm here 03, note 22850, so there is actually a little bit more. So it's not quite accurate, but it's in the safe direction. So you can see our VREF 30 plus 5 is going to be 150 because the wind is light. Now if we go back and we change that to flap 40, see what it's done? It's brought that back with nothing else changing. Those distances are reduced, and the idea is to get the optimum. So you can go all the way down, but actually we probably want to stop somewhere here. So if we look on the takeoffs for runway 21 at Echo, what distance is there from Echo? Of course it doesn't say. So taxi restrictions, or briefing. I'm just going to cheat and look at the charts. Got to tidy mine up, so initial approach 03, get rid of the RNAV. ILS and the airport briefing gen. Continued. Taxi procedures, other information, nothing. Arrival, noise abatement, we talked about. So there is no distance. So you would actually have to measure that. Most airlines would already have this data and say, probably give you those distances. But in fairness, order brake 2 looks like it will do us. We don't really want to be stretching right to the end of the runway. 2 should do us. We can brake a little bit harder to try and exit at Echo. 3 might be a little bit overkill. So let's go back to 30. Actually 2 might be a little bit, no 2, and we'll just go back down to the end rather than using 3, which puts a bit of strain on the brakes and wears them a bit. We can taxi back down here, and I think we should go to like stand 6, but we'll go where we're told. So order brake 2, 2360 on a runway that is 2900 meters long. You can see it's not super short, but it's short enough that we need to actually think about what auto brakes we're using. Of course you can go max manual braking, get down to 1067. Reverse will make a big difference with that, and if we go to the reverse credit, okay, you can't, but if you could, it would. Anyway, the aeroplane has started slowing. And the aeroplane is going to start descending soon. So, still no approach. It's just a shame it only came down here because I thought it would be nice and busy. Nantes traffic. Ryanair 4 Delta Tango 16 DME from Romeo Echo November. Starting descent flight level 150 at ITEM. Go down 1 Alpha, arrival expecting runway 03. Not sure that anyone heard it or anyone cares. It's relatively quiet over France, so we'll just announce as we start getting closer in. And so don't forget, as we approach this top of descent, we've set a lower altitude. The aeroplane will start descending in a moment. See the vertical path indicators start to appear on both sides. Looks like it might be a little bit late. There it is, so I'd expect that a little bit earlier than that. But the aeroplane is pitched down relatively nicely, and it will follow that all the way down. And if we flew an RNAV approach, we could leave it in on our VNAV, and that would give us the required performance for the minimums that we talked about earlier. So we've got lateral performance, L lateral, 2 required, 0.04 actual, and in the vertical sense it's a lot less, 400, 060, so as we said, order brake 2, flap 30, 5 knots, 028, 028, and we are set up. The cabin is descending, and we think we're going to arrive at 2115, so in 20 minutes. 22 minutes if we want to be exact. We might get a shortcut, but I doubt it. Might as well just follow the whole approach. So, once you've done all the hard work in the quiet bit in the cruise, there's not a lot to do, especially if there's no ATC online. Like I say, I can't stress enough to anyone that is watching that doesn't have any charts. It's almost impossible to fly these things. Without it, you'll really be guessing and just trying to fly yourself overhead and then try and get onto an ILS, which is fine, but it really doesn't replicate what goes on. So it's pretty cheap to get Navigraph. It's very good value. You need the data anyway, otherwise you can't fly with charts. And if you want to fly properly, load yourself up with difficulty, it's the way to do it. So smart cars is still running. Done the performance, so I can get rid of the performance calculator. Still nothing on the approach. Towers online, no ground. And so this is us on our way in. So let me have a look at NTEM. Interesting. That's probably the difference just between the two charts. Below 150 and on the initial approach it's above 070, so it was worthwhile putting the 150 in because we can see that we're going to be below it. I think it's just got it overwritten in both senses. Now because these are above 07, you don't need that one there. But it doesn't make a difference. If we set that to below 130, it would just ensure that we are anyway, so it doesn't make any real difference. We are going to the Nantes. Okay, we are going to the Nantes VOR, aren't we? Yes, so we actually go over the airfield, go out and come back. So this isn't a procedural approach, but it is going overhead to come out, to come back round. So what we could potentially do is take a shortcut from NTE to, not the first, not the second, but not the echo, but the mic. So we could take that to there, and notice what happens. You see we cut the corner off of that approach, shortening it probably by a fair amount. Is that a better view to show you? Yes. What we're done. So if I step through that, you see that that then cuts off that whole corner of the triangle, and it probably wouldn't make a huge amount of difference to the vertical profile. So those are the sort of things you could get. You could expect that from ATC potentially. There's an intercept into that arc and then all the way around, and actually that would be quite nice. And you can see, does that make any difference to the intercept 3849? No. So that might make a little bit of difference to our current profile. So it would be potentially a good idea, if we were thinking of doing that, to pop the aeroplane at vertical speed, execute it, see if we were high or low, and see what we could do. So, seeing as there is no ATC online, why don't we assume, for the sake of argument, that we have been given that as a shortcut. So, after NTE, fly direct to that waypoint there. Let's pop that in, and we are going to lower this to 70, which is still a flight level. So let's vertical speed we've captured, which is fine. Let's now execute this, and you'll see that we're now high. So what could we do to fix that? Well, one thing we could do is level change and increase speed, and you'll see that that has the effect of bringing our height back in. Of course, that's not going to help if we don't want any excess energy. We've still got to get rid of that energy somehow. So we can add speed brake as well. And we can get the punters sat down. So as you can see, speed is quite an effective way of getting the aeroplane down, especially at higher altitudes. You can come down like a stone at a good sort of like 4,000 or 5,000 feet a minute if you're you know, between sort of like 25 and 40,000 feet. The aeroplane will come down very, very quickly at high speed. And to be fair, in the back, the packs probably wouldn't notice at high altitude because it's so far away from the ground. Even here, the cabin altitude is not descending at any other rate, so people's ears are popping anyway, and they're not going to notice that we're coming down at 2,600 feet a minute, which we think is probably quite steep. But you can see that we're actually starting now to regain that profile just because of early intervention. So there's a good trick for you, Rick, that once you learn how to read what this is doing and what VNav is doing, then this is something that you can do. Now VNav path will prioritise path, so once it gets within 400 we can select it and the aeroplane should capture it. What we don't want to do is it to capture it too aggressively. So you see it's bugged the speed down, but it's prioritising putting the aeroplane bang on that there. I've extended the speed brake. It should start bringing the nose up to catch that path. We're a little bit quick above, below flight level 100. So that's what I mean about getting rid of the excess energy. Sterile cockpit time, so I'm going to turn my phone to silent. But actually you see that we gained the profile quite well there, but if you muck about and wait ages to do anything about it, then it's just going to get worse and worse. So that's not a bad little shortcut then, is it? Save a few minutes off, save some fuel, and in reality that is what controllers will do, because saving time saves money. See somebody climbing out there, you see him on TCAS. can see them in the sim, which is nice. So we can match. Match heading, and now the airplane has settled down. We're doing reasonable speed. And we're going to want to be 4.5 below. Tower is only really going to control this area here. So it's a shame there isn't anyone to speak to, but it gives you an idea of what you need to do. If you are flying yourself, you could of course just fly straight overhead if nobody else is online, or if you're flying offline. Wouldn't be particularly realistic though. I'm not convinced. There are all these roads, but I'm not convinced in the countryside these are all going to have street lights. So we are still on profile. And at this point we would probably be cleared down to 3,000, which is an altitude. So we're going to pop vertical speed. We're going to set 1020 because there's a little bit of an increase there, but it was alright. Ooh, VNAV didn't like that. I thought that was pretty much bang on profile there. Weird. Let's just listen to the ATIS again. Oh, they've gone offline. So I mean, I've filed and I'm coming in, and the controllers who were meant to be online all night are not here. Nantes traffic, Ryanair 4 Delta Tango inbound, runway 03, estimated time of arrival minutes 14. So we're going to have a long level segment. So what I'm going to do, because there's nobody about, I'm going to set 500. I'm going to set these to 3,000 above, so that we get a continuous descent. And you see that we're now a little bit under, but we can go back to VNAV and we should get a continuous descent rather than levelling off at these points. Seeing as there is a speed restriction out here, and we'll just see what VNAV does with it. So I thought we'd have some coverage, never mind. It was a nice idea. So seeing as there is no intermediate point there, it's a little bit strange that we were dropping off. I'm going to add some power because we're in auto throttle arm here. That means that we can control it should we wish, and I do. I don't want it to go to full throttle, so I'm going to add these in. I know the airplane is going to want to decelerate in a minute, but it did pitch up a little bit early. What I don't want is the speed to increase too much. Just going to have to get rid of that energy again. So I'm going to untick that because there's only one here, so we don't have to worry about it. That's a decel point, so it's bugged 210, because 210 at this waypoint is our limit. That looks like a little bit of a graphical glitch, doesn't it? Is the aeroplane going to make that? Is a good question. Let's get there just about. And in reality, a continuous descent approach like this with a low rate of descent keeps the noise down over built up areas, reduces the fuel burn. You can see the fuel flow, 350 kilos on each engine per hour, which is about the same as the APU, about 300 kilos an hour. Is the AP about 150? I'm going to have to check. I should know that. So let's hope it doesn't go too mental, because we're going to have to go back to the left. Yeah, overshot a little bit. So FMC speed. Ooh, that's a bit of a mess. So I'm going to intervene because LNAV was going mental. Now VNAV is going mental, and we're going up. Goodness. So that was a little bit of a mess. We will try and intercept this. So if I just do that, is that going to build a better path? Possibly. Let's see what the aeroplane does. If it goes too mental, we'll end up just going back over here. Okay, so a little bit of intervention there to keep a hold of it. So I'm going to say that this is the mod being a little bit glitchy, but I am told by reliable sources that this does sometimes happen in the real aeroplane as well. It can do slightly odd things, in which case you've just got to be ready to do whatever you need to do to make the aeroplane do what you want. If you need to use heading select, use it. If you need to use VS, use it. If you need to use any of the modes, use them as you see fit and as you need to. I'm going to go flap 1 slightly early, and you see we're in FMC speed, so it will match the flap speed. Or if it goes really bad, disconnect and just fly the aeroplane manually. So there we are, and the reason that I'm doing that is because we're going to have to descend soon, and I have a feeling VNAV is going to pitch pretty violently. Not to undermine Zibo's fantastic work, but it does occasionally go a little bit glitchy. Anyway, on to the final approach chart. 1099 set. We're going to keep that one on there because it's 335. (028) 2000 at the NDB is our height check, and 273 I haven't set the minimum, so there we go. That's because I was chatting so much earlier, but there's your briefing strip, and that's why you do it. Missed approach straight ahead to 1300 left, max 200 to 4000, so we are pretty much bang on. VNAV's done a pretty good job there, so localizer will arm approach as well. The glide slope has been captured, the aeroplane will sort that out, and as the glide slope has been captured, we can now set our missed approach. Yeah, you've got some.
From stand 5, we push in facing the northwest for 1003.
So November Tango is the ident, which it is. Non-traffic, Ryanair 4 Delta Tango established, ILS 03, 10 miles.
Roger.
So onto the glide slope. We are flying a little bit quick, and we will the speed will start to creep away, or it may do. The wind is okay at the moment, so actually you see you can fly the approach a little bit fast. Normally you want flap 5, so we will go flap 5 and match speed, and the aeroplane should just start slowing down. Remember, we're visual, so Ryanair's landing gates configure at 4 miles, configure with the gear down, flap 15. That's just more efficient on the fuel, because the aeroplane, as you can see, from about 8 or 9 miles, if you're at flap 1, will gradually get back to flap 5, and if we're at flap 5 at 4 miles, that's the point at which we can go gear down, flap 15 pretty quickly. We're actually over the water, which is why we're coming towards this black hole. I don't see anybody. A couple of people over there, but nobody on the runway, so we are going to clear ourselves to land. And you see that's worked out quite well. So a little bit early, but the aeroplane is now going to add thrust to maintain that. And we only have to be, as I've said, stable at 500 in VMC. Even though it's night, it's still VMC. So flap 30, 150. Waiting for 4 miles.
Non-traffic Ryanair 4 Delta Tango with V.
Go ahead, Ryanair 4 Delta Tango.
Yeah, just to know where you're gonna park, because we are on Romeo Delta and we don't want to block you.
Oh, we'll get out of your way, don't worry.
Okay, Roger, we taxi fast and we're gonna go to holding point 103 Alpha.
Roger, thank you. So, they're being nice and helpful, which is good, and in a foreign language. We need to match speed and pay attention. I'm not sure why the auto throttle just disconnected there. I didn't tell it to. There's 1,000 feet. We don't have to be stable until 500, so speed brakes armed, auto brakes set, cleared to land. Flap 15, gear down 3 green. And let's go flap 30, 150.
Approaching 03.
The landing check's complete. And you'll see the disconcerting thing here is there are no PAPIs, so there's no red and white lights to help you out. Going to need a little bit more power. The airplane did feel like it was out of trim there. So not having a PAPI is a little bit disconcerting. But if you just go to the end of the runway, pretty much a third of the way up the canopy there.
Approaching minimums.
So it seems to work pretty well.
Minimums.
Continue. Should be a 500-foot continue as well, but single crewed.
100.
A little bit high.
50. 40. 30.
Close.
20.
So a little bit of back pressure holding the attitude in the touchdown zone. A little bit of a thump. Speed brakes out. And if we do need to, we can brake manually. But I'm happy with that rate of deceleration. Messi?
80 knots.
Okay, cancelling the brakes.
1,000 feet
And we'll go
remaining.
manual at this point. That's full braking to stop us at this point. And we need to be less than 10 knots to taxi off the runway here. Thank you very much, Rick. It's not high speed. And we will vacate. And then stop to do the after landing checks. So 1 hour, 7 minutes. Not bad. Shortcut saved a few. Ryanair 4 Delta Tango runway vacated. So we will stop here at Delta. We're out of everyone's way and we can figure out where we will park. It's probably going to be over there somewhere, but as you can see it's not a very long taxi, so it gives us a little bit of time to sort ourselves out. So stop the aeroplane here. And the captain's job. Set that. Speed brake up. Captain does the landing lights. The FO gets to do all of this. Obviously the captain can do his own that here. We can switch that away. Reset that. Reset that. We can get the flaps up. Brake temperatures are okay, and that's the after landings done. So let's get the APU started. Let's have a look at the landing rate, which is all right. I care about virtual run area. 287, not terrible, not great. Zibo says weak. So let's just have a look from the outside. Yeah, we're well clear there. And we will just head over here somewhere. So that's for the pitos. And I have no idea what stand I was going to expect to be told where to go. So let's just pick something over here on the left. So that 2 Alpha, 3. Right, 3 will do us. We're going to leave the lights on. You'd normally turn those off because this should all be floodlit so you don't blind anyone with the taxi lights. But because we can't see anything. Oh no, we can, I tell a lie. That'll teach me to shut up. We will stop in line with this arrow here if we can. So something like that would do us. So we have 2 blues, 1 red. Engine's dead and we are on stand. An hour and 20 minutes after we departed. Wait for 20% N2 for the engines to spool down before the beacon comes off, so it's safe for people to approach. And we can open up the door. Set the chocks. Get ground handling on the way. It's night, so I won't bother doing a replay. What am I doing? Ground services, doors, rear entry. There we go, and the APU can come off. So, that was 1 hour, 7 minutes flight time. 119 block. We have got 1830 in the left tank, 1850 in the right. We have used 1.5 to 1.5, 3 tons of fuel to get us all the way over here. And that is that. Welcome to Nantes. Actually, yeah, those floodlights aren't too bad, are they? They do light it up quite well. We took so long we didn't get to see that guy disappear. Where'd he go? No idea.
Traffic, Francais 1 What and go, we pass in flight level 52 and we are going on the load entry Quebec departure, bye bye.
Au revoir, bon vol.
Merci, good night.
That's about the extent of my French. There he is. That's a departure that takes you a long way, doesn't it? So that's it's nice to at least see one other person on the way, even if we didn't have any ATC. So I'm going to submit that PIREP. Off that goes. I'm going to disconnect from the network. Close that down. FS 2020. It's a good question, Rick. So I still, not that I hold a grudge, but I do still feel very let down that Microsoft cancelled Flight Sim after FSX, which I thought was a massive leap forward and really good at the time. It was, in fairness, it was pretty amazing at the time, and then they just binned it. And it's taken them 10 years to bring it back, I guess because they've seen that the market is there. I think the developers are doing really well. Whether I trust Microsoft to bring out a good product, put it this way, I won't pre-order Flight Sim 2020. If they do a demo, that would be great to see, because I think FSX did a demo and that was really good. It would be good to see. The bit I think that would be very difficult is to have something as good as Zibo for free with the base cost of the sim and not really needing any other add-ons. I think moving to Flight Sim 2020 that probably won't have a good 737 and that will then require payware of PMDG quality that may take some time to come along and also then be relatively expensive, makes it an interesting question. It's not that I don't have the money to buy it, it's just, you know, it is a lot of cash, and you know, back in the day PMDG was amazing, but now we've got something that's really, really good, that you can actually use in VR, which I think I'd still like to try one day, and that I don't think can really be beaten. Okay, the systems are not 100% modelled, and maybe PMDG simulates things slightly better, but the flight model is good. So yeah, I think I will suck it and see. I'm not going to be one of the first people to jump on the bandwagon. If it's got demo, I will get it as soon as it comes out, but I probably won't pay for it. I did get P3D, like version 4 or something, and it was not really any better than FSX, so I just didn't use it. Yeah, so I'm sure there'll be a client for VATSIM, but that'll take a bit of time. Now, the real interesting point will be if Flight Sim 2020 has a good multiplayer, i.e. cockpit sharing, where you could sit 2 of us in here and either teach or you know, do some actual shared cockpit and some multi-crew flying. That would be really, really good. But that being said, if X-Plane could get that going, make it easy, make it really good, then yeah, I think it would be an interesting proposition. So VATSIM for X-Plane, there's a couple of ways that you can get onto VATSIM. So VATSIM is obviously the network that exists with servers and everything else, but there are a couple of ways. I use XPilot, which is quite good. I think you can still get X-Squawkbox, and there might be something else, but if you have a look on the VATSIM website, it will give you the options. XPilot is really good, and I like it. People have said that, I think people have said it's a bit buggy and it's technically a beta, but it does the job. The only trouble I ever have is when the VATSIM servers go down. So let me just find XPilot and pop it in the chat. There is XPilot winging its way. That's what I use, and I like it. And the reason I really do like it is because before X-Squawkbox, if you look at my earlier streams, you get all the text up here. XPilot I have running on a small 10-inch monitor at the side, and that's why you don't see it on screen. It's just out off screen along with my streaming window and any other stuff that I want to use that I don't want to show on screen. So yeah, I would certainly recommend that if you want to fly on VATSIM, get that, have a look, and enjoy, really. But that is me done for the evening. So thanks very much for joining, Rick. It says a couple of other people are watching as well, so thank you for watching, even if you haven't said hi. Please like, please subscribe, and I'll probably be flying in or out of Edinburgh, or maybe both tomorrow night, so I hope you can join me. I hope that'll be busy. That'll be fun to stretch the brain. Who knows? At some point, I might do it in the Piper Warrior that I've got that I haven't used yet. But thanks for watching as always, and have a good night. Stay safe, and I hope to see you all again soon. Good night.